Day breaks and we visit the police station in Maihina. Something the matter? Huh? I wasn't expecting to find you here, Inui-san. Well, if he wasn't at the inn, it makes sense that he'd stay here, right? Inui-san, is Officer Takayama around? He's resting in the back with a cold. Is that why we haven't seen him at all this time around? Tokasaka-kun, in the end, what were the curses that occurred here? Inui asks me. Nothing more than incredibly selfish crimes to erase inconvenient individuals. That couldn't have been true for the ones back in Edo, though. Concealing the failures of their human subject research could have only begun around the end of the Meiji period. I imagine they've had opposition to erase for a long time. They built up their leadership that way. It was probably necessary to establish the Hinigamis as rulers here. Ruling with fear, huh? Inui sips some tea. Then what was the Miko? Was she raised solely to carry out their killings? I'm not so sure about that. I bet they were feigning that she came from somewhere else to hide their incestuous marriages, but that wouldn't have started until the Meiji era either. Just the last few generations, probably. Why do you say that? Incest wasn't seen as taboo in Japan until Christian values became widespread. Before then, it happened in underpopulated areas. Also, needless to bring up the example of the Fujiwara clan in the Heian period, many a ruler married incestuously. It was commonplace to want to keep the bloodlines pure. After Christianity became widespread, huh? But Catholic rulers in Europe married within their royal families all the time. I wonder if that's why the original faith in this settlement got so warped to allow it. But were they really making the Miko do their dirty work? That would be difficult to prove. I suppose it was convenient for an entity separate from the Hinigami family, the Miko, to have carried out the curse. And to be cursed, they'd have to worship a false Hina-sama, even though no one who knew they'd be cursed would actually do such a thing. Hina-sama grants wishes, but only the Hinigami family possesses the true one. Therefore, the Hinigami family has the power to grant all the wishes in the settlement. Taking that into account, worshipping a false Hina-sama simply means being hostile to the Hinigami family. That's reason enough to be cursed. And the Miko is only connected to the Shigusa shrine, right? The Hinigami family doesn't seem to have anything to do with her. That's what they wanted people to think. They say that shrines are sacred spaces, after all, places disconnected from the human world. I don't really get it. Misaki shakes his head. I don't know what there's not to get. I get what he's trying to say. They basically use this all, the Hinigamis used all of this to cover up their incest and their murders. If you don't understand it, how are we supposed to? I'm just listing stuff off the top of my head, You said Saizen Keiko was killed because Hinigami Riko was jealous of her, but her body looked the same as the other curse victims. Why was that? To make it look like the curse, of course. Even if it didn't follow the true pattern, it would look like the curse to the villagers. And that's why Hina-sama was there. The Hinigami family's Tamaguchi donation is probably the start of the curse, so without it, it doesn't really qualify. What would you have done if Hinigami Hideyomi had continued to deny everything? Well, that would have been that, but it would have been logical to arrive back at the curse from Karen-san's murders in Tokyo. So Hinigami Karen was a copycat criminal, basing her crimes on the Miko's curse killings. Right, but there's something else on my mind, Inui-san. What's that? The reason you've continued to involve yourself in this case. It's strange for a single inspector to chase a case like this for so long, and I imagine your superiors ordered you to stop more than a few times too. It's only natural to continue investigating unsolved mysteries, isn't it? I've done the same in the past, actually. I ended up quitting the force, but I suppose I would have continued investigating even if I'd remained in the police. I'm a little envious that Inui was able to do so. What are you getting at? I won't judge your decision to continue investigating the case as right or wrong. I'm just curious about the source of your passion for it. We gotta destroy Inui's obsession too. The case that I quit the police force to obsess over was one in which my fiancé was murdered. Inui-san, can I ask what your relationship with Saizen Keiko-san was? Oh shit. What will you do with that information? Nothing. I'd just like to know whether or not you're satisfied now. How could I be satisfied? The statute of limitations has passed and no one can be punished for the crime. But haven't you known that for a long time? Saizen-san was murdered in 1929. It's already past the statute of limitations according to the current criminal procedure code. I don't remember how long it was in the old code, but according to the existing laws, it would have been past the statute by the end of the war. Why did you continue to investigate even knowing you wouldn't be satisfied? Inui doesn't answer. Incidentally, I succeeded in arresting the criminal who murdered my fiancée last year, but I wasn't satisfied. I thought about killing him too. No, I planned on it, but I doubt that would have satisfied me either. What are you getting at? As long as the dead can't come back to life, those who were left behind can't possibly be satisfied. I'll ask again, why did you continue to investigate all this time? Because it was the only thing I lived for, I suppose. Inui mutters. Pinning it on the Hinagami family, or taking them down, I suppose, was my goal. I guess I thought everything would be resolved after that. At the very least, I don't think there'll be any victims like Zaizen-san anymore, now that he's disinherited, that is. I point at Misaki. Let's hope so. Even if I had returned to the family, I wouldn't defend these absurd customs. What, homesick already? Not at all. Misaki shakes his head. Keiko was my sister. Oh, Inui mutters. Huh? I figured she might be family. I didn't think he'd obsess like this over a complete stranger, even if he is an inspector. Her husband Zaizen had a small bar in the settlement, but he died in an accident not long after they were married. An accident? Nothing the Hinagamis were involved in. A true accident. Keiko took over the bar afterward, but reached the limits of her managing abilities soon after. And that's when Hinagami Shizuru showed up. That's right. He seduced Keiko with some kind words and invested money into the bar in exchange for her body. I suppose that's what Hinagami Rika was jealous about. It's impossible to say how it happened with a one-sided opinion like this. Zaizen Keiko could very well have seduced Shizuru. That would probably become clear if I asked Shizuru, but it really doesn't matter. The door to the back of the police station opens. I thought it was noisy out here. It's you guys. Takayama appears, coughing. Are you alright, Takayama-san? I'll live. I've got some of your guys' medicine. Well, it's probably because of that you won't live. I'm guessing he can say that because he has no idea what's been going on around here. Well, that just means his existence is a rare gem in these trying times. I'll leave the rest to you. Inui claps Takayama on the shoulder and heads into the back. Did something happen? He seemed awfully dejected. Well, I think he's been relieved of his burden. Uh-huh. Takayama looks in the direction Inui went, a puzzled look on his face. Takayama-san. Misaki approaches Takayama and takes out the pictures we were looking at last night. I bought a hair clip at a stand you were running at the festival before the war. Did you really? Takayama scratches his head. I was there with Satsuki, remember? Look, it was when this picture was taken. Oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it? This is the hair clip I bought back then, right? Misaki shows him the picture of Yukiko. I don't know, man. I was asked to watch the stand then. I don't really remember what it was selling. Well, big surprise there. A hair clip, huh? I don't know if it was the same one, but it was probably made of washi if it was being sold at a stand. Washi is Japanese paper, usually a little tougher than regular paper and used in many traditional acts such as origami. Washi? Yeah, a special kind that's only made around here. They make stuff like that with layers of washi and silk thread. You must know a lot about it. Well, that's just because I gave some to someone as a gift once and was turned down in no time flat. Uh-huh. I probably shouldn't pry. Takayama-san, I appreciate it. Misaki bows his head. Well, I don't know what you're up to, but good luck. Ignorance truly is bliss, I suppose. We leave the police station and head to the center of the settlement. Do they have funerals at the shrine? No, funerals would be considered impure, so they don't hold them on the shrine grounds. I think they mostly take place in people's homes. I'm only familiar with Buddhist funerals, and I didn't bring any mourning clothes. Neither did I. Don't you have some old clothes at home? Do you want me to wear my school uniform? Guess that wouldn't work. I feel like I should go make an appearance at the Hinagami residence, but Mariko probably wouldn't allow it. We're going to the shrine, right? Yeah, I guess so. Masaki and I climb up the snow-covered steps. The grounds of the Shigusa shrine are quiet as usual. The only difference is the several wicker trunks under the eaves of the shrine office. It must be things they're planning to use in the funeral. We can probably at least help them carry the stuff. Kensei-san. Masaki addresses Kensei, who stands beside the trunks. Aito-kun, is something wrong? No, nothing like that. Masaki looks to me. Did you need something, Tokisaka-san? I do. I'd prefer if you could leave us alone. I know it's selfish, but we don't want to be tied down by these past traditions any longer. I'm aware of that. That's exactly why I have to ask you this, for the future. The future, you say? The door to the shrine office opens and Yayoi emerges, carrying some white clothing. You'll be using this immediately, right, Dan? Yeah, could you put it in that trunk? I'm sorry, but do you mind giving her a hand, Aito-kun? Oh, sure. Please come this way, Tokisaka-san. Kensei leads me to a place nearby, away from the other two. The future to me is my daughter. All I wish for is a world where she can live in peace. I know, but isn't there another person, another future who should be important to you? You mean Aiko-san? Yes, I didn't expect her name to come up so quickly when you have no idea where she is or whether or not she's even alive, though. Well, Kensei hesitates. Let's stop it with the secrecy, Kensei-san. I suppose you're right. Please tell me where Ayako-san is. As I told you yesterday, I don't know where she is. It's true that I lost track of her whereabouts in the war. But she was pregnant when she left here. I can't help shooting a glance at Masaki. It was Aito-kun then after all. Nothing too shocking about that. If they fell in love, it was a natural progression. Since you hit her, it has nothing to do with their shared blood, and he was supposed to marry his sister anyway. Well, incest wincest, I guess? It's ironic that he fell for her body double, I suppose. She had the baby in Tokyo while I was still in contact with her, but she couldn't raise it herself, so I believe she left it at an orphanage. Do you know the name of the orphanage? I believe it was called the White Lily Garden, but I think it closed down eventually. Yeah, so it's pretty much certain at this point that Yukiko is definitely his daughter. I appreciate the information. I wonder if rigid things like the Shigusa and Hinagami families are doomed to disappear from now on, Kensei mutters. Something will remain of the culture and folklore, I imagine, but the way people live will change. That's how humanity has advanced up until now, after all. I bow my head to Kensei. We'll be taking our leave now, though we'll help you carry your trunks if you need a hand. No, this is our job, Kensei says with a gentle smile. Very well, then you take care. While I'm returning to where Masaki and Yayoi are, I see a white bird flit across the sky. What an awkward flyer. A ptarmigan, Masaki says when he notices me. So that's a ptarmigan. I've never seen one before. Me neither. They're normally on much higher mountains. I haven't seen one for a long while myself, though I guess that makes sense, considering I haven't been here in a long time. Masaki stares off in the direction the ptarmigan flew. Well, now we pretty much know the truth, guys. We know that Yukiko is definitely his daughter. Although there's still a lot of things about the Blessed Congregation that I'm not so sure about. We return to the inn and begin preparing to leave. We came in barehanded though, so it's not like we've got much luggage to get together. Are you going home already? Yes, we're finished with what we came for, and I can't very well show myself at Hideyomi-san's funeral. I'm not so sure about that. I've said my goodbyes already, and I don't have any mourning attire. My true motive is just that I don't know how I'd face them. The door opens and Masaki walks in. Oh, Rihito. Tokisaka-san, I'll go with you if you're heading home. Masaki sets down a small bag by the door. You're the chief mourner, aren't you? My grandma will handle that. I was disinherited yesterday, remember? You sure about this? I've already said goodbye to my grandpa. How cruel. Not as much as you, Masaki smiles. Well, let's go meet the cruel man's daughter. You really think so? We won't know the truth unless we investigate. I suppose so. I don't even have a kid myself. Can you support a daughter? We don't know for sure yet, right? Misaki turns to you at the reception desk. Young mistress, how much for the room? Tokisaka-san already paid for both of you. Huh? Come on, let's get out of here. We can still get to Tokyo today if we leave now. I pick up Masaki's bag and toss it at him. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks for everything. I bow to you after she sees us to the door. No, I'm sorry we couldn't be more hospitable. Well, see you. Rihito, you'll be back, right? To tell you the truth, I don't know. I see. Take care. Yeah. Well, that's a little bit depressing. Just gonna leave you all alone, huh? I feel really bad for you, actually. I feel like she definitely has unrequited feelings for Naori, but she could never admit how she felt about him. And she's just alone, basically. Yukiko hesitated numerous times before they finally arrived here. Yukari stayed by her side the entire time. Are you alright? Yes. Yukiko nods. This morning, they received word that Kohane's condition had stabilized. Yukari suggested they visit her, and Yukiko hesitated for a while before agreeing. But with every step they took toward the hospital, Yukiko's determination seemed to falter. Yukari hasn't asked Yukiko anything. She doesn't know what happened between them, but she believes that Yukiko will tell her in time. But Yukiko hasn't said a word about it for the last few days they've spent together. Tokisaka-san? Yes? You go first. I'll come too, after I've calmed down a little more. I'll wait for you. Yukari stands close to Yukiko. But it's cold out here. Then why don't we head inside? I think we can take some time next to the benches in the waiting room. Okay. Yukiko agrees and follows after Yukari obediently. The waiting room is still full of outpatients at this time. Yukari brings Yukiko to the benches on the far side of the room so as not to get in the way of the patients. Phew. Yukiko breathes out and sets down the bouquet she's carrying. Want me to bring you some water? No, I'm okay. Yukiko clenches her fists on top of her knees. I have to see her, don't I? Yukiko mutters. Tokisaka-san? Yes? Could you go first and see how Kohane-chan's doing? I don't mind that, but I'm still a little scared. I feel like she might still be like she was that day. Very well. Yukari rises. I'll go check, so could you stay here? Yeah. Yukari leaves her things with Yukiko and heads to the hospitalization ward to look for Kohane's room. She eventually finds a room labeled Tori Kohane. She knocks on the door and waits a few moments. Yes? It's Kohane's voice. Kohane, it's Yukari. Yukari-chi? How are you feeling? Yukiko and I came to visit you. I'm sorry, Yukari-chi. I don't want to see anyone right now. Kohane. Is Yukiko-chan there? No, she's not feeling very well, so she's resting in the waiting room. I see. I don't want to talk to her for a while. Do you mind telling her that? I understand. Kohane, you take care. Yeah. She backs away from the door. She didn't think their visit would be denied. All things considered, it's not very surprising, Yukari supposes. She hasn't heard the details, but whatever happened between them was shocking enough to cause her to hyperventilate. It couldn't have been something as simple as an argument. It was something deeper than that, something an outsider like Yukari couldn't pry into. She wonders if whatever happened between them can be resolved with time. Yukari returns to Yukiko feeling a little down. Tokisaka-san? I guess we still can't visit her. Maybe next time. Yukari says evasively, unable to tell her the truth. I see. Yukari's heart aches from the lie. But there's no way she could tell Yukiko the truth. Why don't we go visit Kyoko-san? They had been planning on seeing both of them. They would have to give the gift they brought for Kohane to her nurse later. Yes, let's go. Yukiko stands up. Don't push yourself, okay? Yeah, don't worry about me. Yukari takes Yukiko to Kyoko's hospital room. Yukari knocks on the door. Come in. Pardon us. Oh, Yukari-chan. Kyoko looks up but stops speaking abruptly when she sees Yukiko. Kyoko-san, are you alright? Yukiko asks her, approaching the bed. Yes. I'll leave your clothes here, Kyoko-san. Yukari sets down the thing she brought. Thank you, Yukari-chan. Do you have anything you need washed? They can wash it for me here. Don't trouble yourself. I understand. Yukari nods, then tilts her head when she sees Yukiko by Kyoko's bed. I'm so glad you're alright, Kyoko-san. Does Yukiko know something about what happened to her? Is that why she's acting like this? Yukiko grips Kyoko's hand and cries. Kyoko looks like she's not quite sure how to respond herself. Yukiko-chan? Does it hurt? If there's anything I can do, I'll do it. Thank you. I'm fine though. Kyoko smiles at Yukiko. Don't worry about it, okay? Okay. Yukiko hangs her head. Is she disappointed that there's nothing else she can do for Kyoko? Yukiko, could you help me with the flowers? Huh? Oh, sure. Yukiko looks away from the bed and sets down the bouquet on the table. I'll fill the vase with water. Pick out some flowers, okay? Okay. What kind of flowers do you like, Kyoko-san? In this season, maybe snowdrops? Listening to their conversation, Yukari picks up the vase and heads into the hallway. When she's filled the vase with water in the restroom and makes her way back to the hospital room, she finds a girl wearing hospital clothes sitting on a bench nearby. The girl raises her head and her eye meets Yukari's. Her left eye is hidden by bandages. Yukari remembers her brother telling her about this girl. Hello. When Yukari greets her, the girl looks away shyly. May I ask your name? Michiru. Shirosaki Michiru. That's right, Yukari recalls. Are you visiting Kyoko-chan? Yes, we brought her some clothes and other things. I see. Michiru's gaze wanders to the vase Yukari's holding. What's that? We're going to put the flowers we brought in it. Do you like flowers? I like dandelions. We didn't bring any dandelions. Sunflowers, then. We couldn't really bring those, could we? Chrysanthemums? You shouldn't bring those to a hospital. Too bad. Michiru's shoulders drop. Want to come inside? Yeah. Yukari brings Michiru inside the hospital room. Oh, Michiru-chan. Michiru walks over to Kyoko. Who is she? Yukiko, who's sorting the flowers, asks Yukari. She's hospitalized here. I see. Yukiko arranges the flowers in the vase. We'll bring the leftover flowers home. Okay, where should I put the vase? On top of that table's fine. Can you do it for me, Michiru-chan? Michiru takes the vase from Yukiko. But she stops after looking at Yukiko. What is it? Yukiko tilts her head. Oh shit. The vase slips from Michiru's hands. Michiru crouches down and Yukari runs over to her. Careful, don't touch it. She thought Michiru was going to pick up the shattered glass, but she's covering her face with both hands instead. Michiru scratches at her face through her bandages. Michiru-san! Yukari grabs Michiru's arms. No! Michiru shakes her head. Calm down. What happened? Yeah, it's probably because she saw Yukiko. She embraces Michiru in an attempt to stop her from moving. Yukiko speaks up too after backing away for a moment. And then, why did you kill him? Yukari hears it clearly. Michiru-san, calm down. What? What's going on? The door to the room opens and Koharu bursts inside. Well, Michiru-chan seems to be in pain. Kyoko explains the situation. An attack. Shirosaki-san, let's go. The nurses who had also entered the room stand Michiru up. No! No! Michiru shakes her head. Please be careful of the broken glass. Yes. Michiru is half carried out of the room. Does that happen often? Well, she has these attacks every so often, but I'll go get a broom and a dustpan. She heads to the door and then notices Yuki, who'd sat in a chair sometime during the commotion. Yukiko? Yeah. Are you alright? She must have been shocked by Michiru's sudden shift in behavior. Yeah. Yukiko nods weakly. Want me to get a doctor? No, I'm okay. Yukiko shakes her head. A broom and a dustpan, right? I can get them. Yukiko stands up and heads toward the hallway. She doesn't seem very steady on her feet. Please rest. I can... I'm alright. Ignoring Yukari's attempt to stop her, Yukiko leaves the room. All Yukari can do is watch her go. Yukari-chan? Kyoko calls out to her. Yes? Is there something wrong with Yukiko-chan? I don't know. I certainly don't think she's completely healthy, and sometimes she seems to have trouble with her memory. Her memory. So that's why. Kyoko nods as if realizing something. Kyoko-san? No, it's nothing. That's a lie. I'll clean this up. Yukari kneels down and begins picking up the flowers on the floor. You shouldn't touch that. You might cut yourself. Don't worry, I'm just picking up the flowers. She'd like to put them in a new vase. It would be such a shame to let them wither and die like this. Why did you kill him? Michiru's words a few moments ago. What did they mean? It's difficult for Yukari to even comprehend. Who was killed? Why? Who killed? There's a pain in her fingertip. She must have cut it on a fragment of glass in her days. She looks up at the bed, hiding her finger. It doesn't look like Kyoko noticed. She doesn't want to make her worry. Yukiko returns. Thank you. She sets the flowers on the desk and takes the broom and dustpan. Blood? Yukiko notices the blood oozing from Yukari's fingertip. Did you hurt yourself? Didn't I warn you? Kyoko takes a tissue and holds it out to Yukari when... Yukiko brings her lips to Yukari's finger. Okay, what? Huh? Okay, is she... Oh, God, why? What the fuck? She pulls her lips away. I'm sorry, but I didn't want your clothes to get stained. That's alright. Thank you. Yeah, that's totally normal. Yukiko takes the dustpan from Yukari and wipes off her finger carefully. Tokisaka-san? Yes? Let's go home. Yukiko says, turning toward the door. Oh, Kyoko-san? Yukari turns to Kyoko. Yeah, see you later. Alright, excuse us. Yukari bows her head and follows Yukiko out of the hospital. The sun is almost set outside. Yukiko, Yukari says when Yukiko stops in the middle of the parking lot. Tokisaka-san, there's somewhere I'd like you to go with me. Yukari turns to her. Where is it? It's a little far away, but we'll make it if we take the train now. Oh, is it the orphanage? Yukiko's almost expressionless. Yukari can't tell how she's feeling right now. That's why Yukari's a little uncertain. Does she need to go with her? What's there? Yukari finds herself asking despite her misgivings. She wants to know what they'll be heading there for. It's the place where I began. Okay, well that's really weird and vague. Like, what? What? The date has already changed by the time we arrive at Ueno Station. The station crowd is already gone, and the only noise is that of cheap restaurants and their drunk patrons. Masaki returns from the ticket counter. No good. The Yamanote line's done for the day. Then we probably won't be able to catch the Cho line from Kanda or Ochanomizu either. The Ginza line on the subway is probably no good either. They're home in Tokyo now, but still stranded in Ueno. Guess we'll have to take a taxi. Don't be stupid. If we could even find one at this hour, we'd definitely get ripped off. Who knows how many hundreds of yen they'd charge us just to get to Shinjuku. And my house would be even farther. Well, there's no point rushing when there aren't any trains. I'm hungry too, so why don't we grab... Welcome. Oh no, we always end up at this guy's food stand, of course. The old guy at the takoyaki stand butts in before I can even finish. We haven't decided yet. Huh, figured you'd want to warm yourselves up with something nice and hot on this cold night. The old man gripes. Well, takoyaki's fine, isn't it? Misaki whispers to me. I guess, if we're just going to decide on what to do next. Alright, old man. 2 servings of takoyaki then. We can eat here, right? I don't mind. The old man starts making the takoyaki. I know. Is there a liquor store around here? There's one down that street in Okachimachi. You heard the man. Huh? Are you telling me to go buy you a drink? Get whatever you like. Old man, you don't mind if we drink here, do you? As long as you keep quiet. You heard the man. Get going. Alright already. Misaki stands up and heads across a crosswalk that's free of cars. I line up a table and some chairs nearby and take a seat. Could we get extra pickled ginger? It'll go great with the drinks. Sure thing. He hands me a little plate of pickled ginger. Doesn't do me much good like this, but it's better than nothing, I guess. I pick up some of the ginger with my chopsticks and toss it into my mouth. Yeah, I really need a drink. Hurry up and get back here. Thanks for waiting. The dish of takoyaki steams. They look good just like this, but they'll get cold if you don't hurry up and eat them. Yeah, you're right. I pick up a piece with my chopsticks and bring it to my mouth. It's nice and hot, and the octopus inside is cooked, but that's it. I put some pickled ginger on it, trying to give it some sort of flavor. No need to rush now. I've got plenty more where that came from. The old man shows me a big tub of batter. Isn't it kind of a bad sign that all that's left over at this time of night? It's on me tonight. I'll grill them up, so go ahead and have your fill, free of charge. The old man pours batter onto the griddle. I don't think we'll need that many. I raise my head to see Misaki returning, with one extra. What the hell are you doing? Hey, want some? I wanted to go home, actually, Toji says, looking behind her to Misaki. I found this guy spacing out in front of a closed liquor store, so... There aren't any liquor stores that would be open at this hour, are there? And yet he's holding a bottle. Then where'd you get that? I had it in my office. Old man, you got any cups? Yup. He hands us some glasses that have turned white with use. Well, it's unrefined sake, so this'll do. Where's it from? It's rice malt they use in miso cellars and shinshu. It doesn't keep well, so it's not something you can drink all that often. Sounds nice. Misaki pours some into a cup. The white sediment drifts in the sake. Want some, old man? I don't drink. I'll be content if you just eat those fellas for me. The old man offers us some takoyaki. Guess they'll do for a snack. Toji picks up a cup. Well, cheers. The 3 cups ring against each other. It's pretty sweet. It's easy to drink, isn't it? That's because it's the real deal, not moonshine or anything. You could get drunk pretty easily off of this stuff if you drink it like it's sweet sake. Misaki eats some of the pickled ginger as he drinks. By the way, Tokisaka, did you just get back from Toyama? Yeah, everything over there is pretty much taken care of, though practically none of it can be prosecuted as criminal cases. Past the statute? Yeah, back here. What's going on with the Otsugi thing? They're still investigating, but haven't got a suspect yet. They've confirmed that Oribe was murdered too now, though. That culprit probably hasn't been found either, I'm guessing. Nope, they don't even know if it's the same murderer. Otsugi could have killed Oribe and then been killed by someone else. That's a possibility. Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. No kidding, there are all sorts of possibilities. Toji gulps down her sake. It really is easy to drink, huh? Don't get shit-faced. I'm not going to carry you home if you pass out. I'll be careful. I hold my cup out to Misaki. You can pour for yourself, can't you? How insensitive can you get? I'm going with you to see your daughter after this, aren't I? What does that have to do with anything? Daughter? Apparently he's got one. We just found out. We don't know anything for sure yet. Misaki gulps down his sake. And I have no idea what to say to her if she is my daughter. Just say, it's me, Papa. Don't be stupid. Masaki's eyes are glazed. Is he drunk already? You're old enough to have a daughter or two yourself, aren't you, Tokisaka-san? Oh, piss off. What is he, an angry drunk? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Come on, drink up. Toji fills Masaki's cup. Thank you. I'll do that. Daughters don't grow up to their parents' convenience. The old man grumbles. I sweat out here to pay the bills, but she doesn't take any notice, just rebels. So this old guy has a daughter. I don't have the courage to ask him about her, though. You drinking, Tokisaka? I'm good. My cup is filled before I'm even done speaking. It was still about half full, too. Hey now. It wouldn't do to have any left over, and if this isn't enough, we can just buy some more. Wasn't the liquor store closed? There are plenty of bars to hop around here, Toji says, tossing a piece of takoyaki into her mouth. And you just said that they shouldn't get shit-faced. They're so mysteriously bad as always. Shut it and eat them. Your problem is that you're not using miso. They'd be great with some miso pasted on them when they're done cooking. Miso? Don't be ridiculous. Who ever heard of miso on takoyaki? Are you bad-mouthing miso, you son of a bitch? This is why you can't trust amateurs. There's no way miso'd go with takoyaki. I won't allow anyone to disrespect miso. Make some goddamn miso takoyaki. Are they getting into a fight about takoyaki? Is she drunk too? Just calm down. You don't want to actually stand around here making takoyaki, do you? What are you saying? There's no way I'd make takoyaki. Well, that settles that. What should I do? Masaki grumbles while he drinks. How should I know? Guess I've got to get drunk too. I drink down the cloudy sake in my cup in one gulp. And they won't be going anywhere tonight. They're too drunk to even... They're probably too drunk to even get to where they were trying to go. The following morning. Ugh. I stand before Sakura Daimon, holding my aching head. Tokisaka-san. Masaki stands next to me, white as a sheet. I don't really remember last night at all. What a coincidence. Neither do I. We started drinking with Toji in front of the takoyaki stand and then bar hopped a little. Yeah, that'll do it. But then Toji disappeared at some point. It's a miracle I had enough on me to pay for all of our drinks. And unsurprisingly, we're completely hungover now. Even the sound of passing truck engines makes my head pound. Not a single person stood near us on the train on the way here. Let's go. Mind if I hit the restroom first? Hurry it up. Yaginuma is inside the first investigation division. Senpai, if you're going to come here, could you at least bathe first? Yaginuma backs up a few steps, holding his nose. I didn't have a choice. I didn't even have time to go home first. More accurately, I thought if I'd gone home, I would have lain down and stopped moving. So what do you want? I'm here about Atsugi. I've got some stuff to report. And the autopsy's done by now, isn't it? Well, I suppose it is. Yaginuma turns his head. Oh my god. Natsume-san's sleeping on the couch in the reception room. She was up putting the data together until this morning. Don't make any moves on her now. I wouldn't dream of it. Yaginuma's a little quiet. No way. Did she make moves on you? Of course not! Don't holler in my ear. That's smart. But if he's getting this worked up, she definitely made a move on him. Morning. Natsume-san gets up after the commotion. My glasses. My glasses. They're on your face. Oh, that's right. Oh, Tokisaka-han. What are you doing here? He wants to see Otsugi Keigo's autopsy report. Ah, I see. Sit tight. I'm gonna go wash my face. Natsume-san leaves the first investigation division. So, senpai, did you accomplish anything over there? Yaginuma asks me. Nothing that would interest the cops over here. Most of it concerns stuff that happened before the war, long past the statute of limitations. I imagine you were looking into Hinagami Pharmaceuticals, though. You mean the illegal clinical trials? The statute on that would be something like 3 years, right? Hideyomi acknowledged that they'd happened a long time ago, but... If people died because of the trials, it can be considered murder. Then it'd be 15 years. The White Lily Garden would be fair game. So he doesn't believe it was a group suicide. We've dispatched an investigator to Hinagami Pharmaceuticals who's seizing all the relevant documents, and Hinagami Shizuru agreed to a voluntary questioning that's currently being conducted. He's here? Misaki interjects. I can't let you see him. Yaginuma warns him before he can even ask. Then, please tell him that Grandpa, that Hinagami Hideyomi has passed away. Got it. Yaginuma nods. Oh, that reminds me. I don't know if it has anything to do with this, but I've confirmed that Otsugi Keigo was over there. Otsugi went to the Hidegata settlement. For what? To check out the festival. It was still the Congregation of the Blessed back then, but he was probably using their religious ceremonies as a reference. And another thing, I discovered a motive for Sawashiro Nanako to murder him. I can't say anything about the matter now, but I'll keep it in mind. Natsume-san comes back. Sorry for the wait. What'd you want to know first? Tell me the cause of death first. Sure thing. Our deceased friend suffocated to death when vomit got caught in his throat after an overdose of colchine. You didn't detect any arsenic? I think she suggested something like that at the scene. We didn't detect any arsenic from his hair or nothing else, meaning it didn't look like a premeditated sort of murder. Then it was an accident? Not necessarily. Seems like our deceased friend had been suffering from gout for a long while, so he wouldn't have gotten the dosage wrong that easily. Then what else is possible? Well, let's see. He could have taken a pill with an abnormally high amount of colchine in it. Are there pills like that? I can't say there ain't. Colchine's relatively easy to come by. If you know how, you can make something like that. I can't imagine Hinagami Pharmaceuticals is that involved in this, but this one seems to be investigating it like it's a homicide. Natsume-san indicates Yaginuma. We got a warrant from the court, so we can investigate the building. I'll take what you told me into consideration, Senpai. It sounds like you have something to add to that. All Yaginuma does is shrug. That's right, the thugs we arrested there admitted to harassing that coffee shop. They're employed by a financing company affiliated with the Blessed Congregation. Thought so. They're not members of the organization themselves, they were hired to collect debts. What about the assault on Kyoko? They denied assaulting the owner of the shop. They said they wouldn't injure someone in case it made them unable to pay back their debt. Makes sense. That's the part I don't get. They probably just threatened her. If they'd stabbed her and she'd reported it, they'd be tracked down right away. We haven't received a report from the owner anyway, so we can't look into it much more. It's strange that Kyoko won't say anything about it either. Instead, they told us about Oribe. They testified that it was homicide, so we're investigating that as well. You got any leads? We think Oribe Tokahiro was murdered on the morning of the 10th. When we looked into everyone who could be involved, we found one person who left the complex on the 12th. The 12th. That day. Wouldn't the culprit disappear right after the murder? The organization denied a murder, but when it seemed like they wouldn't be able to protect her anymore, they let her get away. You could rationalize it that way, couldn't you? Yaginuma looks me straight in the eye. You have Kayahara Yukiko in your care right now, correct, Senpai? Do you think I'm trying to cover for her or something? Of course not. It's not like you have anything to do with them. Yaginuma lifts his glasses up with a finger. I simply want to ask her some questions. She's one of the few who were inside the organization at the time of the incident, after all. I'll tell her that when I go home today. Please do. I thought he'd hound me a little more, but he backs off pretty quick. Could you return this as well? Yaginuma takes a bag out from under his desk. It was Fuyumi's bag that was confiscated the other day. The contents? We just looked into the amount and the serial numbers on the bills. Nothing's been removed. Of course it hasn't. I wouldn't put it past this guy to pocket some of it. I'm not fool enough to ruin my life over this paltry sum. Whatever you say. You had better make sure it all gets returned, senpai. Of course I will. Yeah, Yaginuma probably would take some of that money. We take the train to Musashi Sakai and arrive at the apartment complex where the Kayaharas live. Our hangovers are a bit better by now too, thankfully. Maybe we should have stopped at a public bath on the way or something. Do you seriously think we could leave that bag in a changing room? I point at the bag Masaki's carrying. I feel nervous walking around with this. Just act confident. I ring the bell at the Kayahara residence, Masaki by my side. Yeah, so by the way, your adopted daughter might actually be my biological daughter. Excuse me, it's Tokisaka. The door opens and Fuyumi appears. Good morning. Good morning. Do you have a moment to talk? Sure. Come in. Fuyumi invites us in, looking rather depressed. I'm sorry I can't be more hospitable. Nah, don't worry about it. The room looks a little messy. Has anyone visited you here? No, neither the police nor the Blessed Congregation have come. You've been here the whole time, Fuyumi-san? Yes, a friend of mine is taking care of the daycare. Is Yukiko? I'll tell her to get home. It's been some time now, so she's probably calmed down enough. Thank you. Fuyumi bows her head. Fuyumi-san, this is yours. Masaki holds out the bag to her. Huh? Is this? The police have returned it. Don't worry, they haven't touched the contents. But I don't even know what to do with this. No kidding. Masaki nods. Well, you can't give it back to the Blessed Congregation, so please just hold on to it for now. There's no legal basis for me to say so, but I'm sure the money is Fuyumi's. I understand. Fuyumi nods and accepts the bag from Masaki. I'd rather have Yukiko back than this. I thought you might. Speaking of Yukiko-san though, do you know anything about her before you took her in? Before? All I really know is that she was in the White Lily Garden. She's never spoken about it. Her doctor said there was probably a psychological burden on her and that I should wait until she opens up to me herself about it. She probably means the gaps in her memory. Why do you ask? Now Fuyumi's asking us. I glance silently at Masaki. Well, about that, Masaki doesn't know where to look. But this isn't something I can tell her. There's a possibility that Yukiko-san is my daughter. Huh? Fuyumi blinks. Well, that would be a surprising thing to hear. What do you mean? She was wearing a hairpin that I gave to her mother a long time ago. A hairpin? It's in this picture. Masaki takes out the pictures. The color picture of Yukiko and the old black and white one. It's hard to tell in this picture, but the pin Yukiko-san's wearing is unmistakably the one I bought back then. You remember that? Wait a second. Is Fuyumi who... okay, I don't know. I don't know if they're about to reveal this, but this is something I've been suspicious of. Is Fuyumi Ayako? Because she does look a little bit like her. Wait, oh, mind blown. What if this whole time she was pretending to actually be like her adoptive mother when she's her biological one? But what's the point of doing that? Like, I don't know. There's still so many questions I have about... Okay, I guess we'll see. Fuyumi's voice is trembling. Would you mind finding it for me in Yukiko-san's room? If I see it in person, I think I'll be sure. But then, wouldn't Masaki also notice her? Like, wouldn't he be like, oh yeah, you're Satsuki? I don't know. That's just a little... That's a little too much of a stretch, I think. What? Masaki, don't be unreasonable. I help Fuyumi out when it's apparent that she's troubled by this. But... I'm sorry he's being so hasty, Kayahara-san. It's okay. Fuyumi shakes her head. But I think you're mistaken, Masaki-san. What makes you say that? Well, Fuyumi falls silent. Could it be? Masaki, could you leave the room for a minute? Huh? Why? Naturally, Masaki's very much against the idea. Don't raise your voice, you'll disturb the neighbors, and more importantly, my head still hurts. But... Yeah, just go over to the hospital and hand out the souvenirs we bought, please. I tell him in a voice that brooks no argument, shoving the bag with the souvenirs onto him. It's just how these things go. Since you're the topic of discussion, it'd be better if you're not here. I understand. Masaki stands up. Oh, leave one here. I take out one of the souvenirs from the bag. I'm sorry we had to give it to you like this. I hand a box of sweet sake manju to Fuyumi. Japanese sweet filled with red bean paste similar to mochi. So I guess the, sweet sake manju. Sake bean paste. Sure. I'll be going then. Masaki leaves. I'm sorry, but I thought it would be better if he didn't hear this yet. No. I should be the one apologizing. Oh god. Is it what I think it is? Does she have the same color eyes? Like, I'm trying to look at things that would be, like, that Satsuki would have. Like, because I'm trying to remember, like, what her features were. I mean, she does look like her a little bit. Fuyumi bows her head. Was there something he said that you thought was wrong? Well... Fuyumi hesitates. May I ask what Yukiko-san's blood type is? It's AB. AB. Then... Yukiko isn't Masaki's daughter, Yukiko is Ayako. Okay, well apparently she isn't. Yukiko isn't Masaki's daughter. It's impossible for Yukiko-san to be Masaki's daughter. That's right, isn't it? His blood type is O. It's impossible for him to have a type AB child, and I think he was a little off about the hairpin as well. That hairpin, you were the one who gave it to Yukiko-san, weren't you? Fuyumi gasps. What makes you think that? I can't imagine that Yukiko-san got it from her birth mother, since she was in that orphanage for so long. Fuyumi doesn't respond. Do you remember Masaki Hinagami Aito? I don't know him. Fuyumi shakes her head. I considered the possibility that you had lost your memory as well, but it didn't really seem that way from the conversation you two just had. I think it's a bit odd that the two of you wouldn't notice as well, but I don't have an explanation for that. It's possible that Fuyumi was simply pretending not to have noticed Masaki. But why wouldn't Masaki have noticed her? It's no surprise that he didn't notice, Fuyumi mutters quietly. Because I underwent something called personality alteration. Personality alteration? Yes, treatment to create a new personality. It was cutting-edge psychiatry at the time. Is something like that possible? Yes, I mean, it succeeded for me. I'm sure having a good doctor helped. Was that to hide your identity as well? No, once I reached Tokyo, no one knew me, or the Miko anyway. Then why? Because I almost strangled my own child to death. Oh, shit. So that's why she was pretending this whole time. Oh man, what a fucking... God. My mind is blown. Like, I started to suspect that once we found out that Ayako was in Tokyo. I was like, well, there's no way it's someone we haven't been presented with yet. And much like Karen, there's not many other options but Fuyumi. Like, if we were presented with a list of people it could have been, I would be like, okay, but there's no way it's Kyoko. There's no way it's like Toji or anybody else. It's impossible. Fuyumi's the only one, and Fuyumi looks a little bit like Satsuki too. So I was like, maybe, but then I was also trying to figure out like how in the hell does that even work? You know, like she doesn't act like her. She's like saying she's her adoptive mother. But, I mean, and also who would have guessed, like, oh yeah, she went through some kind of personality treatment where she got her personality. Like, that's crazy. Nobody could have considered that, I'm pretty sure. Fuyumi stares down at her hands. My own child, my daughter, who'd just been born. Tears roll down Fuyumi's cheeks. So that's, and that's also why she, I guess, you know, because she also strangled the other Satsuki to death as well. The memory of killing Satsuki came back to me. How I strangled her back then, just like this. Then you really... Ayako-san killed Satsuki-san. Yes, anything I could say about it would just be an excuse, but it's true that I killed her. This clears up what Masaki was told as well. It makes sense that Shigu Sasaya would deny Satsuki's murder now. Why did you kill her? I can't help asking her even though I know I'm getting sidetracked. That would be an excuse. Fuyumi shakes her head. Please tell me.
Everything started with my selfish jealousy, my not knowing my place.
Jealousy? Towards Satsuki-san?
Yes, she had everything, from the beginning. As the Miko, she was promised the power to rule over the settlement.
But she wasn't free.
Neither was I. I was given life for the purpose of being the Miko's shadow, disciplined day after day, and when I found just one thing I wanted.
Fuyumi raises her face, wet with tears.
Please tell me, Tokisaka-san, is it a sin to want to be together with the person you love?
It isn't, but things you do to be together with the one you love can sometimes be.
I tricked Satsuki. I changed the day they were supposed to meet, and met with him instead, without telling her.
When you were acting as her body double, I can't say whether or not that could be considered a sin, though. From a completely just point of view, it would have to be, I suppose. But I can't condemn her for it, though that may simply be because it did no harm to me. From the point of view of the one harmed, on the other hand, that became the reason you killed Satsuki-san. Rather, Satsuki-san tried to kill you first, didn't she?
I completely lost myself. I thought it would be fine if I died. And yet, before I realized it, suddenly I was strangling her.
Fuyumi buries her face in her hands.
I killed her, to save my own life.
I don't know if her confession is the truth, but if it is, it could be considered self-defense. But the statute is long passed on this as well, and I doubt that would be any consolation to her. Your sin is a matter of the past now. After that, Kinsei-san helped you escape to Tokyo, correct?
Kinsei-san and Miya-san were always very good to me. They were the only ones who saw me as my own person.
Saya-san was your mother, right? What about her?
I've never thought of her as my mother. I doubt she ever thought of me as her daughter either. She had no love for anyone but Satsuki. Yet I clung to the name she gave me, Ayako, since it was the only thing that belonged to me. That's why I carved it into the inside of that large chest. That was the only place I could be comfortable by myself.
Was Sai's love truly directed at Satsuki? From how she planned to raise Ayako as a body double, and from Rika's death, I can only imagine her love was directed at Rika. It makes sense that she would dote on Satsuki, though, since she was something of a memento from Rika. Yet she used a character from Rika's name in her own child's name. I don't know what was going on in her heart, but I can only imagine it was complex.
After coming to Tokyo, an obstetrician helped me deliver my daughter. She was unmistakably Ayato-san's. And yet,
You were able to overcome your past precisely because of the responsibility of being a mother. You didn't kill her, right?
But I thought I'd definitely have to kill her if I kept her. So I decided to give her to an orphanage. After that, the obstetrician did all he could to make sure it would never happen again. And that's where the personality alteration came in.
The obstetrician handled your personality alteration as well.
He was a psychiatrist first, I think. But he could do all sorts of other things, and he was willing to help someone like me who had no family register.
Oh god, what if it was him? What if it was Rokushiki?
He was the one who created the Kayahara register too.
Sounds like an impressive guy. Unfortunately, I only know one person capable of all that.
I heard last year. No, the year before last, he was arrested in some incident.
Rokushiki Makoto. Yep, that's what I thought.
Yes, that's him. Dr. Rokushiki helped me so much.
She doesn't know his true identity. But that doesn't matter now. There's no need for her to know. So, after you left your daughter to the orphanage, Fuyumi shakes her head before I even finish.
I don't know. I heard from Dr. Rokushiki that he left her at the White Lily Garden, but by the time my treatment was finished and I was living as Kayahara Fuyumi, when I was ready to take her back,
the White Lily Garden was already gone.
Yes, that's when they suggested I take in Yukiko, and I thought, maybe, but...
But Yukiko-san wasn't your child.
Right, but Yukiko's still my daughter. I can never be Satsuki's mother after letting her go.
You gave her the same name? So, wait a minute, I'm confused. So is Yukiko her daughter or is she not? Like, what, did she have another daughter that actually died or is missing and Yukiko is not actually hers, but she's treating her like she is? Because we came to the conclusion that it's not Ayato's.
So, and then Ayato's kid, like her biological child, was the one she was going to kill, and then she was put into the White Lily Garden. Like, I don't know. I feel like most people would say, okay, yeah, it's definitely Yukiko, but who else? Like, whose child is she really, though? Like, that's what I'm, like, really confused about now. No, that's just how I think of her. I never told my doctor her name. Fuyumi hangs her head. The destruction of the White Lily Garden, the orphans group suicide. Hinagami Pharmaceuticals' illegal clinical trials have come up more than once in relation to that. Hopefully the girl named Satsuki wasn't caught up in all that, but I don't remember seeing the name on the list of the orphans there that Yaginuma showed me. Maybe I should look again. May I ask you something? What is it? What would you do if you found Satsuki-san now? I don't know. Fuyumi shakes her head feebly. Even if it's been some time since then, there's no guarantee that these emotions toward her wouldn't well up in me if I tried to kill her again. Fuyumi's hands are shaking. And I'm sure she'd resent me. I abandoned her before she even knew me. You've done a perfectly good job of raising Yukiko-san all this time. This is proof of that. Well, if it's another girl, like if Satsuki is someone who isn't Yukiko, then there's not many options of who Satsuki could be as well if it's a character we already know. As crazy as it sounds, I guess I'd have to say Kohane. Although I have no idea how, because she doesn't really look at all like her, but I have no idea. I point at the bag full of money sitting next to her. So, I don't think you need to worry. You really think so? It sounds like Fuyumi's not very confident about it yet. That's probably only natural. I won't tell Masaki, Hayato-kun, what we talked about here. Huh? If you feel comfortable doing so, I'd prefer that you tell him yourself. I thought this day would come someday, but... Fuyumi rubs her eyes. All this time and you couldn't tell him a thing, huh? Even though you'd noticed him all along. Yes, I'd like to apologize as soon as possible. To everyone. I console Fuyumi, Aiko, for a little while when she breaks down in tears. God, I really just feel so fucking bad for so many of these characters in this game. With some exceptions. Masaki visits the hospital with the bag of souvenirs as Tokisaka told him to. He sees a lot of familiar faces since he's here so often. He has a lot of acquaintances hospitalized here now too. Masaki heads to the staff room first to give souvenirs to the nurses who have helped him out. Excuse me, is Sawashiro-san here? Sawashiro-san's been taking the last few days off. I see. Please enjoy these with the other nurses. Masaki hands over some kintsuba they bought as souvenirs. Kintsuba are cubes of jellied red bean paste, yokan, fried in a light batter. Thank you. Next, he'll head to the rooms of his acquaintances. Who should I start with? Does it matter? I guess it does. Start with Kohane. Masaki stands before Kohane's hospital room and knocks on the door. Yes? Tori-san, it's Masaki. Come in. He opens the door at Kohane's voice. Kohane's sitting up in bed. Oh, just you? Yeah, I'm on an errand. Masaki takes a souvenir out of the bag. You can eat these, right? I'm not supposed to eat in between meals on this medicine. Masaki wonders if she's so calm and quiet like this because of that medicine. And they're sold in that stand in front of Ueno Station, right? I'm surprised you could tell. Well, they're famous. They're takoyaki made by a former killer, right? No, that guy isn't a killer. At least, I don't think he is. Oh yeah? Kohane backs off just like that. How are you feeling? Not bad. I'm probably just getting worse sitting around here all day, though. After stretching a little, Kohane looks to Masaki. How's Yukiko-chan doing? I don't know. It's been a little while since I've seen her. Yukari-san's with her, though, I think. I see. She looks away from Masaki. He feels like he should ask about that night, but he has no choice but to restrain himself. She's probably relaxed right now thanks to the medicine she's on, but he doesn't know what sort of stimulus might cause an attack like the one she had the other day. That's something Masaki understands well himself. I haven't sorted out my feelings yet, but it's not like I hate Yukiko-chan now. Kohane mumbles. Do you want me to tell her that? No, I'll say it myself, before too long.
Got it. He leaves Kohane's room. Now then, next.
Oh, Masaki-san.
While he's thinking of where to head next, Koharu greets him. Hello, Dr. Yamanoshi.
Visiting someone?
I am. Oh, that's right. Where's Shirosaki-san's hospital room?
Why don't you ask her?
Koharu looks behind him. Huh? Oh my god. Michiro's sleeping on a bench just nearby.
I was just about to tell her that she'll catch a cold if she sleeps there.
Koharu says with a sigh.
Can you take her to her room?
Sure, I don't mind.
She had a bit of an attack yesterday, so please be careful.
Did something happen?
Yes, I'm not really sure what, but...
Koharu shakes her head. Got it. Now be careful.
Thank you.
Masaki gives Michiro a little shake after Koharu leaves. Michiro opens her right eye. Wake up, Michiro. Her half-open right eye meets Masaki's.
Good night.
Don't go back to sleep. He sits Michiro up. I brought you a souvenir, so wake up.
Souvenir?
Michiro gets herself up. You're so selfish.
The souvenir's shellfish?
Of course it isn't. Masaki takes Michiro's souvenir out from the back. It's manju. Can you eat it?
I don't like red bean paste.
So she says, but she's still looking at the box of manju as if she's interested.
Rabbit manju?
Yeah, it looks like they're rabbit-shaped, like that stuffed animal you've always got with you. Michiro opens the box and looks at the manju lined up inside.
Oh.
They even gave her a fucking heart on her eye. She lets out an exclamation of wonder.
I can't eat them. They're too cute.
Michiro shakes her head. There are ones that don't have red bean paste in them too, though. Masaki points at a green manju.
What flavor is it?
It's got soybeans in it, looks like. It's a little weird that it has a Sendai specialty even though they were bought in Toyama.
I don't like soybeans either.
What do you like?
Sour?
You can't put that in manju.
Then water.
That'd be even harder to put in. He picks up one of the pieces of rabbit manju. The red bean paste is not that sweet. You might like it. Michiro is glaring at him. I'm sorry that I ate one of the manju we bought for you.
How cruel.
Cruel? It's just food, you know.
Oni. Demon. Lady killer.
Wasn't that last one kind of unrelated?
I don't know.
Let's go back to your room. Masaki remembers the favor Koharu asked of him.
Lady killer?
No. Michiro leads him to a room deep in the hospitalization ward. Right away, she starts lining the manju up on her desk. Don't play with your food.
Eating them would be a waste.
Don't come to me when they start growing mold.
Mold? They might be even cuter if they're fuzzy.
Give me a break. Masaki notices a withered flower sitting on the desk. What's this flower?
I got it from Yukiko-chan yesterday.
Yukiko? Masaki has a hunch that was the cause of her attack. As much as he'd like to verify, he can't ask Michiro directly. Michiro has told him about Yukio in the past. It's not unusual that she'd know Yukiko too in that case. Did you know Yukiko-san? And he asked her anyway. Michiro gives a little nod.
She makes it so that she never saw things in the first place when you can't see them anymore.
Does that? Masaki swallows his words. He can't ask Michiro more, but he has to look into Michiro and Yukiko, as well as Kohane and Yukio, the four of them. Other than her, the only person who knows about them would be...
What is it?
Michiro looks into Masaki's face, tilting her head. No, it's nothing. He gives Michiro a pat on the head.
Okay.
I'm gonna get going. You eat those manju, okay? Michiro nods, and Masaki leaves the room. Masaki heads straight to the Metropolitan Police Department after he leaves the hospital. Someone who knows Michiro's past, her psychological trauma, is here.
He doesn't know if he'll be able to see him, and if he does, if they'll even be able to have a proper conversation. But Masaki doesn't know what else to do. What? You're back? Yaginuma's still inside the first investigation division. Yaginuma-san, please let me see Rokushiki Makoto. Rather than beat around the bush, Masaki asks Yaginuma directly. I have no reason to give approval. Yaginuma gives a little shrug. Maybe for Senpai, who's a former police officer, but you've been marked as a suspect. But I need to speak with him. Why do you need to? The case is almost completely solved. We're investigating your family's company, and I'm sure we'll find evidence of those illegal clinical trials. I've already been disinherited, so my father's company has nothing to do with me. Then what do you intend to ask him? Yaginuma asks Masaki. I want to ask him about a patient he treated in the past. Not about yourself? No, there's nothing I could ask him about myself at this point. What merit do your questions have for us? Well, I can talk to him. The police can't get anything out of him, can they? This time won't necessarily go as well as the last, but that's the best Masaki's got for Yaginuma when he considers it. Oh, very well. Yaginuma stands up. Wait in the third interrogation room. Alright. Masaki sits alone in the interrogation room. He feels like he's going to be the one interrogated. He was rather persistently questioned here last month, after all. Thinking about that now, he's not really sure what his position has become since then. The door opens and Rokushiki Makoto appears. His bonds are released and he's made to sit in the chair. Do I have to keep the cuffs on? Rokushiki holds up his hands. The police officer who escorted him leaves the room without responding. It's been a while, Masaki-san. It's only been 10 days since I last saw you. Is that right? It's hard to tell how much time has passed when I haven't spoken to anyone else since then. Rokushiki shrugs. Now then, what did you come to ask today? More about what I asked the other day, about Shirosaki Michiro-san. Oh? Rokushiki plants his elbows on the desk and laces his hands in front of his mouth. Your treatment starts with having the patient tell you all about themselves. Mine did anyway. So you should know more than anyone about your patients. Her treatment did start like that, but Masaki-san, is that what you're asking about? I am. I want to know what she saw. That would fall under doctor-patient confidentiality. I can't tell you. Like you care about that. Masaki stands up. I want to end her suffering. It's something you could never do now. Well, I wish you luck then. Do you think this is a joke? He raises his fist. Give it up, Masaki. Masaki stops his fist when he hears a voice behind him. Tokisaka-san. Hitting him wouldn't achieve anything. Tokisaka grabs his arm and Masaki lowers his fist. He wouldn't still be here if he were the kind of guy to crack after a little pain. He's a huge nuisance to the most skilled of detectives here, after all. All Rokushiki does is move his eyebrows a tiny bit. You have to come up with some answers on your own first if you want to get anything out of him. Tokisaka-san, why are you here? I came back and heard you were meeting this guy. Tokisaka points at Rokushiki. Organize what you already know and let him have it. If you get enough right, he'll probably talk. I understand. Masaki faces Rokushiki again. What Shirosaki-san saw that made her gouge out her eye. It was... Her mother was killed in front of her eyes. Yukio was killed in front of her eyes. Yeah, probably Yukio was killed in front of her eyes. It was Yukio-san being murdered right in front of her, wasn't it? Yukio. Being... her friend and Yukiko-san's brother. Very well then. Rokushiki nods. Michiro-san saw Yukio-san being murdered and gouged out her own eye. The group suicide occurred after she was hospitalized, so she couldn't have been involved in it. But Yukio-san was on the list of those who died in the group suicide. What this means is... it concealed the incident, Yukio committed suicide. Yeah, it would have concealed the incident. They probably wanted to conceal Yukio-san's murder. Since there was abuse occurring at the orphanage, they wanted to leave as little to be discovered as possible. Could be. Tokisaka agrees with Masaki's theory. We're still not sure whether that group suicide actually occurred at all, though. If they were poisoned, it could very well have been murder. So you think they wanted to cover up the illegal clinical trials? If there was a cover-up, that was probably it. If they were dealing with those who developed serious side effects from their clinical studies. You'd want to cover that up, wouldn't you? When Michiru was hospitalized, her body was ravaged by medicinal poisoning, wasn't it? Tokisaka asked Rokushiki. She was lucky. If she were lucky, she wouldn't have been there in the first place. Tokisaka glares at Rokushiki. She was lucky. She wasn't just blindly medicated. She was psychologically damaged from the start. From the start? You won't see the side effects of the drug if you give it to someone who's healthy, after all. Being abandoned by her parents may have been psychologically damaging, but either way, I don't think that's what you call lucky. Anyway, Yukio-san's death was unrelated to the group suicide. If that's the case, then it begs the question, who murdered him? And who do you think it was? Well, someone she knew, someone she didn't know. Someone she knew. It has to be. Someone close to her, I think. How about giving me a name, then? Rokushiki sneers. Oh no, here we go. Culprit selection, who is it? Okay, yeah. That one's pretty obvious. This one's pretty obvious. Let's see, where the fuck? Yeah. I think, for sure, it's her. There's a good chance they were there, but there's no proof. I guess not. Let me tell you one thing. She hasn't told me anything. I don't know if it was because she didn't see who did it, however, or because she made it so that she didn't see anything. Rokushiki says knowingly. If she really never said anything, then you wouldn't know about it. This questioning would be pointless. Shall we call it quits then? Trust me, I'd love to, but I still have something I need to ask you. Oh? What would that be? About personality alteration treatment. It seems you did that sort of thing during the war, or perhaps just after it. I did try a lot of things back then, but I didn't expect you to be interested in that. Could you explain it to me? Even if I did, you probably wouldn't understand it. To sum up the main point, it was pure psychiatric treatment, as opposed to something like a lobotomy. The best way to remove qualities such as aggression from a patient was to cut into their frontal lobe, but that was nothing but a surgery, something I couldn't do. You could do anything. You took her baby then too, didn't you? Now I see. Rokushiki comes to some conclusion. She regretted murdering someone, feared she may murder again, and came to me for help. How interesting. There's nothing interesting about this. Tokisaka slaps the desk. Just like you, wasn't she? Rokushiki points at Misaki, his hand still cuffed. You regretted the murder you committed and came to me as well. I won't deny that. It's not a sin to be repentant. You seem to know everything. I'm sure you've put together everything we've talked about today as well. I imagine you're the same way. There are some things I don't know, however. For instance, the whereabouts of one Kuchiki Toko. Misaki didn't even have time to stop him. Tokisaka's fist finds Rokushiki. Tokisaka-san! He grabs Tokisaka's arm and holds him back from striking again. You were the one who said it wouldn't do any good to hit him, Tokisaka-san. Fuck! Tokisaka turns away from him and strikes the wall with his fist instead. She was a successful subject, so please tell me if you find her. Rokushiki throws some words Misaki doesn't understand at Tokisaka, but he only leaves the room silently. Excuse me. Misaki follows him outside. The sun's already set by the time I get back home. I parted with Misaki at Shinjuku Station. He probably didn't want to come with me because I haven't said a word the entire time. And I know I've been scowling since I slugged Rokushiki in the interrogation room. I'll make Yukari worry unnecessarily again with an expression like this. I try to relax my face for a little while in front of the front door. It's already a little uncomfortable with Yukiko here. Alright. I learned some things from our conversation with Rokushiki. Now I'm thinking we should probably put off Misaki and Yukiko meeting for a little while. I need to look into some more things. No one's inside the house. I enter my room and turn on the light. We got on the night train on the 13th, so it's been 4 days, I guess. Actually, I think there was too much going on even before then to really be home. I should do my laundry tomorrow. I look at the clock. It's 7 p.m. I wonder if Yukari and Yukiko are doing some shopping. But considering I didn't tell her I'd be getting home today, I don't know if they'll buy enough for me too. I'm starting to get anxious. I turn on the light in the living room and peek into the kitchen. It's clean and tidy as usual. The rice bin is pretty full. I can at least have some of that. Might be a good idea to start cooking some. I scoop up some rice and then realize I can't imagine Yukari would go shopping at this time without getting the rice ready first. I put the scoop back into the bin and peek into Yukari's room. It's clean in here too. Yukari's school bag is sitting next to her desk. She definitely came home then, but there's a small daily calendar hanging on a post in the living room. January 16th. That's yesterday's date. Yukari flips through this calendar every day, but she hasn't today. Shit! I snatched the car keys up. Yukari and Yukiko haven't been home since yesterday. There's a good chance of that. Where did they go then? I have no clue. If it's something to do with the Blessed Congregation, they'd be west, but the headquarters in Kokobonji is full of police. Then where? I get into the car and start the engine. I have no idea where I'm going, but I need to look for them. For Yukari and Yukiko. A dilapidated church in the mountains of Hachioji. There's snow here and there on the ground, shining faintly even in the dark. It's almost the kind of place one would expect to find some stray dogs, but there's been no howling. A fire burns red in an old rusted coal stove. It was a miracle they could scrape together some coal in this deserted, rundown building. Yukari sits on a chair in front of the stove, draped in a dusty blanket. Her breath is white. They're protected from the wind in here at least, but the night is cold nonetheless. Next to her is set the skins from the apples they ate, along with a knife. Yukiko. Yukari turns around and calls out to Yukiko, who's curled up on a bed. Yeah? She lifts her neck a bit and looks toward Yukari. Aren't you cold? I'm okay. She gives a little nod. You shouldn't sit there by the stove. Yukiko nods again, but shows no indication of moving. Yukari sighs and stands up. This blanket is warmed up. All Yukiko does is respond vaguely like this. What are we doing here, Yukari wonders. Yukiko brought her here yesterday night. They warmed themselves at the stove and found some blankets they could use to sleep. In the morning, they wandered around the area, went down the mountain, and bought some food. Yukiko hasn't told Yukari why they're here in that time. As if she doesn't even know herself. It's like she's trying to remember something. Yukari has decided to stay with her while she does. She can't leave Yukiko alone while she's suffering. She knows that this is a very important place for her. The place where Yukiko began. What that means is, we don't know.